Well, today is the first of our Practical Tools Week on both the Together LA as well as Renew Chicago platform. And I have the honor of talking with someone I know and gotten a chance to work with and who I've learned so much from, Tim Cox, Director of Marketing and Communications at City to City. So Tim, welcome.
Thanks, Tommy. I get to spend time with you, brother. You're a legend, a internet content legend, and I get to be on this with you. It is a good day.
Well, Tim, you know, and this is what we're going to talk about: creating content as an organization. Like as someone who started a smaller to medium-sized organization, I had no followers, no branding, no awareness, but also no money, and so I had to try to figure out ways to create awareness through different networks.
Yeah. Good luck with that. I mean, that's the problem, right? It's just like actually getting people to care about the thing that you care about so much. And so it's all sales. I mean, it's just like, hey, how can we sell things? How can we get in front of people and just like, you know, make them care for a minute about the thing that you're so passionate about? That's the problem. That's the challenge.
And as we're going to talk about today is even with this whole idea of low cost and simple tools to communicate and market your organization. Like, for instance, even with the organization you worked with, the name Tim Keller now is a household name in Christian homes. But probably about 20 years ago or 15 years ago, probably it wasn't on anyone's radar. And so how do you create awareness, or even as you tell your story, and I'm going to turn it over to you about how you started with the La Mirada Chick-fil-A is how to create awareness. So I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey, so thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. I'm Tim. I'm happy about questions. I don't have slides. I created a document that we can also interact with. So Tommy's going to share the link with you, and it's I'm also going to talk about the service. So while I'm talking to you about cheap and free tools, I used a cheap and free tool as my slides, but they're not really slides. They're actually things that we get to interact on. But that's right. All these things take time, and we live in a world that doesn't want to spend time on investing and messaging and thinking about stuff. So a little bit about me, about how I got my start into marketing and communications. I was a music major. I thought I was going to do church music. I did church music at churches that were church plants, and so they couldn't pay me anything. So I went out and got a job, and I was doing college recruiting, and no one would return my phone calls or emails. And so at the time, it was MySpace was the platform. So I get on MySpace and I start messaging students, and they immediately responded to me. Oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, Palm Beach Atlantic University. Never heard of it. By the beach. Cool. Let's go. And so I started like seeing, okay, phone and email do not work right now with these students. MySpace does. I need to be relevant to these students because I'm trying to sell them something, and they don't know about it. They don't care about it. So I started making videos. I actually started making content that was funny, entertaining, cheap, free. I used the little camera on my computer and stuff on my desk, and to entertain them and to be like, hey, did you check out this movie that I made about like how to apply to the school? Why don't we talk? So I went through marketing. I started doing marketing in college admissions and didn't even realize it. And that built up to, I did at Biola University, and they actually had a position for marketing for admissions. And I had a team of bloggers, and I had like, and we started blogging and making videos there. Chick-fil-A just got to California at the time. And so I started helping Chick-fil-A sell that chicken, so giving away free food on Facebook and watching the business explode that way. My wife and I then moved to New York City, and I started doing stuff with Nyack College. They're like, wait, you do Facebook? Do Facebook for us. And so I started doing Facebook for Nyack College for the whole school and the seminary. And then I landed my dream job at Redeemer City to City, which was, the title was called Digital Engagement Manager. And what that means, and generally my whole career has been, I've been the person behind the curtain, pulling the knobs and the switches, making the websites, doing the social media, you know, all the technology stuff. And then, you know, people look back, hey, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a really good job. And they're like, cool, we have no clue what you're doing. Bye. I mean, you know, obviously that's an over exaggeration. Redeemer City, they're very competent. They know about technology. I have performance reviews and stuff, so I'm very much not lying anymore. But yeah, I wasn't lying before, but you had to trust me. So I've developed in working for nonprofits and working for schools that did not have a budget specifically for digital marketing. I've had to make a career out of cheap and free and learn it and do it myself. So I think there are some people out here that are watching me that are like, I need the cheap free stuff because I don't have the budget. So let's talk about that. So I'm not sure if people are in this document. You can just watch it. There's some comments here. I don't know if I need to be watching those. No. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if you want, these are where all my apps are. And at the bottom, if you sign up for an account, you can actually start adding your own tools. So if you want to do that, that's great. Okay, so first of all, a couple of caveats. I'm going to warn you before I give you the goods and like all the cheap free tools that I use that will really change the way that you communicate. I promise you. They've done this to me. I'm sure if you don't know about them, it's going to change. You're going to get some ideas out of this. They don't call it cutting edge for nothing, right? If you're on the bleeding edge, you're going to bleed. It's rough out in these streets if you're on the cutting edge. So for me, like I have ADD, I live that life. I'm always going for the new apps. I'm always going for the new Zerts. I want to know all the new things because I have to know all the new tech. And the problem with that is that it all gets outdated very quickly. And it's even embarrassing because I was all about that Google Wave life. Was anybody else on Google Wave riding the wave? Remember that? It was like live editing documents and then it went away in 6 months. I really wanted Google Glass. Like I still want Google. I looked up the website yesterday because I wanted Google Glass so bad. I want computer here. That's embarrassing. People are like, nerd. Yes. The other thing is I frustrate people. So at the end of this, you're going to watch this. You're going to get hopefully some good nuggets of information. And then you might be like, hey, Tim on Facebook, hey, I love the app. It's so great. I'll be like, oh, what app? I forgot about that already. So you might get mad at me because in 6 months, I'll probably be over this stuff. I'll be over it. I'm like, yeah. So the other thing is, so don't get mad at me about that. Yep. Second thing is, I have shared apps with people who are still using the apps like a decade later. No one supports them anymore. They just love that task manager. They will not update their operating system. That's how much they love this task manager. I will not update to Catalina. No, because they want it. Don't be that person. These things are going to update. We need to be able to like just after 5 years, it's probably a good time to go back and look at the things that you're using like Microsoft Word or other things, and maybe you should change it. Maybe there should be another thing. Okay, so that's my warning. Bleeding edge is very dangerous, right? And over the years, I've actually become less bleeding edge and let other people test the things for me. We can talk about that later. But here are my tech tips for when you find a thing, when you see, oh, I have a thing that I want to use and I want to roll it out to my team. You're a leader, right? You have a team. This is what I've learned. One, always keep it simple. Always keep it simple. Like limit yourself to like one big app a quarter, or you can talk to your friends about one app a week or something. I would seriously be like, hey, I have 5 apps I want to talk to you about. And people would be like, please just leave me alone. The second thing is on your team, they're probably using the apps that they need to use and you're good. Like Google like Slides, Docs, Sheets, is that everything? They have tasks. The Google ecosystem, and I'm sure Microsoft 365 has basically all that you need to succeed. There's a whole movement called no code apps. People make apps with Google Docs. Like they make things with the stuff you're already using. They make apps and services and businesses using the least amount of technology as possible because it's just that tried and true and it's accessible to your whole team. So I'm going to give you an example. People love this service called Boomerang, which was for Gmail, which allowed you to send an email and that email would after a week come back to you and be like, you've been slacking. Let me ping you again. Please respond to my email. That service is already now baked into Gmail. So So here's the deal. This list I'm going to present to you, there might be like in the next 5 years, 2 of these services will still be around, and they'll probably either be part of Google, Apple, Facebook, or they will be the next Google, Apple, or Facebook. Otherwise, they've been resorbed into these companies that are already doing the stuff. Okay, so I said, keep it simple, use what everyone else uses, and then you need to test by yourself. Just use it yourself. Some of this stuff is like collaborative software or something. That's fine. Use it yourself to see if you even like it. Don't immediately jump to, hey, test this with me. Hey, you know, and some of you watching should not be testing stuff because you're not find the early adopter on your team. Find the person that's like loves this stuff, gets really jazzed about this, and delegate it to them because you've got a lot going on. But one person should test it by themselves. If they like it, then allow the product to do 2 things. It needs to sell itself to everybody else on the team, right? And then it needs to support itself to everyone else on the team. If the product can't sell itself to your team and can't solve their problems and answer their questions, it's not a good product and it's probably going to die. So you could probably just leave it. Okay. So that's all of my preamble to the list. One other thing is the question, how do I find apps? How do I actually go out and find tools that help me do things? I used to just like download everything that was free on the App Store and on the App Store for Mac and for iOS and open it up for 15 minutes. And if it didn't, or 15 seconds even, if it didn't grab me, I would delete it or I would just let it waste away on my phone. I don't have time for that anymore. There's a site called Product Hunt. I've linked it to in this doc. You can see that Product Hunt. If you want to be bleeding edge and open and download and know about everything that ever exists, it's going to be on Product Hunt. You can sort it for like the most popular. There are ways to do that so you don't have to look at everything. But if you want to know everything, Product Hunt, it's going to list all the stuff. Okay. What I do now is I actually watch people use the stuff. And if I hear somebody use it, like you're going to use this Notion service today, you saw me use it. If you like it, you might check it out again. That's what I do. I'll be like, oh, I've never heard of that service before. Let me go check that out. But I have to see it in the wild now. I don't want to like go find and be the person that brings it into the wild. I have to see it in the wild first, and then I will consider it because they've already gotten a user base that like could, you know, that now is wooing me. So they've done their job a little bit as far as selling the product. There's email newsletters. There's like a whole paid email thing. I subscribe to some of them because I really care about like voice, like Alexa stuff, that sort of thing. They tell me some of these apps. That's how I found about some of these things. And yeah, if I see it, I'm going to notice somebody like, oh, well, how'd you get the cool lower thirds in here, Tommy? Oh, I want lower thirds like this in my stream. And Tommy's going to be like, oh, I use StreamYard. And I'm going to be like, oh, I should check it out. That's how I learn about this stuff. Okay. Let me take a drink. We got 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes talking about these tools, and then Tommy's going to come up and get some questions. Unless, Tommy, you have some questions now based on what I said.
Nope, go ahead.
I love how you can just pop up like that. It's so good. StreamYard, everybody. Plug for StreamYard. Okay. So in this Notion document, you'll see 2 articles that I have. I have video, this how to make content for your digital meetings and ways to do church during social distancing. These are blogs that I've already created listing some of these tools and how I use them. But I'm going to give you here, all of these services have a free tier that you can use. And I generally just use the free versions of all this stuff. And if I like it, I'll pay for it occasionally and then stop paying for it as soon as I can find another way to do it for free or cheap. Okay. First of all, you might like taking notes in your meetings. I don't. So I actually use otter.ai to record meetings and it transcribes them live. A lot of these tools for me, I think the wave of the future, like the biggest technology right now is audio to text. And some of these services I'm going to share right off the bat, use that. And I'm going to explain how I do that and how that's a game changer. One is meetings. If you use otter.ai, you have the record. It's so good. You can search for what you called me a jerk. You can search jerk and you know exactly, and you can hit play and find when the person called you a jerk or whatever. So meetings, meeting notes, as long as you're okay with going back and searching for this stuff. Otter.ai is awesome. You get like a certain number of minutes for free. So just record the important meetings. Everything else is fine, right? Okay. And I understand we're not allowed to meet in offices, but this is really good in offices. You can use it on virtual calls too. This is the game changer. Next is called Descript. So Descript is an app that lets you take transcript and video file or audio file. It syncs them and you can edit the text and it edits your video or audio file for you. This was a game changer for me, that I can take a transcript, which Descript will give you a transcript. You can do that within the app. There are other things. You can use Otter. There are many different transcription services that you could use and then edit the transcript and it edits the audio. It is incredible. You can read way faster than you can listen and watch a video. So this is how I was able to, at Redeemer City City, crank out these podcasts, as we would just do a Zoom meeting like Tommy and I are doing right now. We would just record this, pop it into Descript, transcribe it, edit the transcript. All the weird stuff I said goes away. All the cool stuff I said stays. Boom, you got a podcast, you got a YouTube video, all that with Descript. It is magic. They even have now a feature where you can type words and it uses the person's voice and says the words. So you can make me say whatever you want by taking this video, putting it into Descript, and then putting words in my mouth, and I will say them. That's really great. It is a new feature, so you have to get on the waiting list to use it, but it's there, and it's called Overdub. It's really great. This Rev.com is also transcription. It's cheaper than Descript, and it also does translation. So Redeemer City City is a global church planting organization. And when we do these podcasts now, I can get a Japanese translation. When I interviewed City to City Japan leadership, I was able to get it in a day. It's not cheap. I mean, it's cheap compared to like the miracle that it is, but it costs some money. It's transcription is $1 a minute for really good, accurate transcription. To translate, it's like $7 a minute, but it's really accurate. It's really great. It's really fast. It's a great tool. So Rev.com is what I use to transcribe things professionally and really accurately. Anchor is a game changer for podcasting because you can create a podcast with your phone. Everybody's got a podcast now. I encourage you to do it. It's really good, free, easy, cheap research to just practice interviewing people or just even ranting and putting it on the podcast store. It goes on Spotify. It goes on all the platforms. Anyone can have a podcast. You can have sound effects. You can have a cool background music. And it's a good, just even if you're not tech savvy, download the app and try it. Just feel what it's like to make a podcast and how it is to communicate a story over audio. So that's what we use at Redeemer City to City for our podcast. We just upload the file, boom, it goes there. It's great. We don't have to worry about hosting or anything. It's magic, right? Restream is like StreamYard. And so that's another app. I can share. Tommy, should I share my screen? I haven't been doing it, but should I? You gonna pop up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that was easy. Your entire screen. Cool. Sharing my screen. Boom. Cool. All right. Can you see my screen? I'm going to assume you can see my screen. If not, that's fine. Okay. Restream.io is like StreamYard. I love it, but StreamYard's great too. It's the ability to stream something and put it out to a bunch of different platforms. And then Loom. I use this all the time to send videos, like quick things. So I could just do a Loom for 3 minutes and explain something, share my screen. It's really great. Okay. I'm just blowing through these and then we can get to questions. Okay. So for web and desktop, for all these social media platforms, Buffer is awesome to just make sure you hit all, if you want to like send a tweet out and then format it for Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, Buffer's great. Tim Keller uses it on social. You should too. This library extension book is really, it is a Chrome extension. This is just a grab bag of my favorite tools. This library extension, if you see a book, it'll tell you if it's available to download from your library, audio and book or an ebook. I use this all the time. It loads up in Amazon when you look at somebody's book, it'll tell you, oh, you can just check it out from your own library and just hit borrow. Boom, it's on your device on Kindle or audiobook. Canva is a really great way to do graphic design if you don't know how to do graphic design. Use it. It's so good. Their templates are so good. You can we use this at Redeemer City City as a global brand to make sure that when people create social graphics or when they create print stuff, they're using the right fonts, colors. It's even if they don't have a graphic designer, they can use Canva. It's a really great branding tool to make sure everybody knows exactly what fonts to use, what sizes. If you have templates, you can make them, pay a graphic designer once to do a template so that it works for the whole world for all of time. Okay. We're using this thing called Notion. I just like it because it's like a really cool way to take notes and then just send somebody a link to it. It's like a website. Somebody used this because they sold all their stuff in their apartment, and they sent me a Notion link. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. This is one of those, you can make apps with Notion. It's so powerful, but then so easy. So it might be a thing you want to check out. When we write things, I always want to know the tone at City to City. Like, we make these big documents. And so I do word clouds all the time to just see what words are we using a lot. Wow, we really use gospel a lot. Wow, we really use city a lot. Do we really want? So going back and being like, okay, here are the words that we're using. It's a really great plugin for Chrome. I also have canned responses on my Gmail, and this is a feature that anybody can use. If you use Gmail, you can just auto respond with frequently asked questions. So anytime I've had to reply with an answer more than once, I create a canned response and then I can just shoot it out. Grammarly, people are just, they say, Tim, you're just so impeccable with your spelling and your grammar. And I'm like, thank you so much. But really, it's the free service called Grammarly. And it tells me what my tone is, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm professional, if I'm casual. It'll tell me what words, like, hey, you shouldn't put apostrophe there. You should totally put apostrophe there. So it's a really great tool and very great free. I care about passwords and security. And so my team uses 1Password. And then we also use Authy for two-step verification. And these are both a password manager and two-step that syncs across all your devices. And Zapier and If This Then That, these two tools allow you to connect everything to everything else. So if you post something, if somebody posts a photo on Instagram, I can actually like log it in a spreadsheet to make sure I have a record of all our Instagram posts in a Google Sheet using If This Then That or Zapier. So it's ways to like trigger things, and you know, it's complicated, but they actually create ideas for you. So again, give it 15 seconds, give it a minute, let them try to sell you on their service. I use it all the time for a lot of different things. I love clipboard managers. When you copy and paste a lot, I just want to go back and look at my history. Paste is a way to do that. So there you go. Clipboard history is very important, and it's a very quick, easy productivity tip. We use Asana for project management. You can use Google stuff for it. So I would use Asana, the free version, just to get in the hang of it, and then move over to Google for like a free version of it. You can use Google Sheets, or you can use even a Google Doc to do really what you're doing in Asana. And then Slack. I want to tell you, a lot of people are using Slack and they're paying for it. And here's the thing about Slack. Slack is meant to do non-direct messages communication. And you can just use Google and the chat function for the way that most people use Slack. So if you're not using Slack and you're thinking about using Slack, it's very hard. I think most organizations can't use it the way it's made to be used, which is public communication on projects that anybody can search and find. I think most people use it for DMs, and then you could just use a different service for that. So it's one of those things that I actually, it took us 3 times to try to incorporate it into Redeemer City to City. And like I introduced it, everybody's like, this is dumb. And then like 3 years later, somebody's like, I miss Slack. And then we reintroduced it again. It kind of faltered again. And then finally, we all just said, no, we're doing it. But again, I still think that we're using it not for what it's supposed to be, which is just DMs and just kind of secret communication. It needs to be public and searchable. Okay. I've got some iOS things, like you can edit pro videos on your phone with an app called LumaFusion. I use Over all the time to like make social graphics, and we're doing all these like Zoom calls and stuff. If I whenever I have casual, like fun videos, I actually change the platform I'm using, and I refuse to use Zoom for anything fun because I need to have like a different environment. So House Party, I love it. And then if anybody wants to put their suggestions, you can do that below. So Tommy, that's my spiel. Those are all my services. Hit me with some questions.
Hey, Tim. Hey, a couple of questions for you is, like, for instance, you and I have chatted before. At City to City, how do you guys decide what to put on social media every single week? And also, how often do you guys send out emails, different things like that? What's your strategy behind that?
Yeah, I love to do content pillars. So there are things that your organization needs to do that takes a lot of effort and money. So for us, we need to do we do a print annual report, or we'll do like quarterly magazines that are print that take a lot of money, a lot of time to actually produce and do well. So that is our content pillar. So we put a video to that, and then we chop up everything, and then we put it out on social, and we make sure that we hit certain themes throughout the year. So it's like, what are the things that you're really putting a lot of effort into? Let those be the main things, and then see what you can pull out from those things to then push on to social. So that was our original strategy. We started a self-publishing business. So there's now on our social, we need to sell books, which is not part of that print piece. So there are like nuances, but I think there are a lot of people on this call that are like, hey, we put a lot of effort into that annual report. Get the most out of it that you can, and chop it up and be able to use it on social. That's like one main thing. The other thing that I do is I use Kindle Popular Highlights for Tim. Like that's a really great, like any book that City to City publishes or promotes, you can go in Kindle and just look at what everybody likes. And those are instant quotes for you. Those are instant things that you can like help sell that book or help promote that product by using Kindle Popular Highlights. So that's an easy way to get content. One more thing is, if you're transcribing everything with the video and the podcast content that you're doing, you have a blog post now, and you can pull quote from it now if you have the transcript. So that's what I love about what we're doing right here, Tommy. We can transcribe this, and then the two good things I said the whole time, boom, social cards. You can put them in, like, have like an Instagram photo, or you can make this whole thing into a blog post. So those are some tips there.
How do you balance between promoting Tim, who does have a large social media following, and then the other voices of City to City, and not making it all about Tim?
Yeah, no, I mean, this goes in every aspect. So when you think of communication, I used to think like it was just all about outward promoting, but communication's everywhere. So like we communicate internally to staff. I mean, this is just an epiphany for me. And so like even our trainings, if you're always quoting Tim Keller, if you're always quoting, it can seem like cultish, right? So it's like, how are we doing this? Right. So as far as Redeemer City to City goes, Tim doesn't need any promotion. Tim's got the followers. Tim can like post a tweet, do a live stream. He's fine. What we want to do is feature the leaders that are already in the City to City ecosystem that's why we started a self-publishing business, was to get those leaders an instant pathway to publish without having to go through other publishers. We became the publisher, and we were able to start. So we've got 3 books coming out this year. One's by Tim, one's by Alistair Stern, and one's by John Smed. Two of those are not Tim Keller, and 2 of those people are pastors in Canada. So we're able to kind of so that's what we want to do, is take people from the network and then feature their work in blog posts, and then also in podcasts, and then eventually, hopefully, through publishing and through books. And then that hopefully will get them on stages to speak and talk about their ideas that they've written about in books.
Got it. Hey, and actually, Tim, someone asked me this question, and I thought that was interesting. With social media is, what is a good strategy for social media? Do you just keep promoting quotes from your president or your organization, or quote scripture verses, push out conferences?
Yeah.
What's a good way that allows you to connect with your people and build a network?
Okay. I'm going to do this as quick as possible. One is think about your organization's vision. Like, what do you want to see? So Redeemer City to City is we have a vision to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ in cities, right? So we want to see that happen. The next thing is who's the audience that you need to accomplish that vision? Who is the main person? Like, who's that main audience? And what do you want to tell them? What's the message that you give to that audience to activate them to accomplish that vision? And then finally, what platforms are they on where you can put that message? So to answer your question, where's your audience that's most crucial for you to accomplish your vision, whether that's donors or whether that's practitioners or whether it's middle school teachers, what are they on? Get on there and then give them valuable content that actually will be like, oh shoot, that's really useful. So when I went on MySpace and I made videos for students looking at college, and they responded to my messages. So what's the MySpace for you right now for your organization?
Got it. And here's another one is when you grow your network, Tim, what's important for you at City City? Do you want number people with emails? Do you want to grow your Facebook, social media posts, your Instagram? What's important for you?
Yeah. So City to City is a nonprofit, and we have multiple audiences that are very important to us that we can talk to on different platforms, or we would need to talk to multiple on the same platform. So Tommy, repeat your question. What is important?
What is key? Like, for instance, for an organization, what should I prioritize? Should I try to build my network by getting as many emails, good emails, or my social media?
Yeah, it's hard because it's always the answer is always it depends. But I will say this: face-to-face, even now, especially now, face-to-face, you can never replace. So I think the best relationships start in person or in pseudo in person. And then you go from there. So like you can have thousands and thousands of email addresses and then try to like get people and try to convert and do all that thing. I really believe in like long lasting. I always try to zig when everybody's zagging. So what people will tell you is online marketing, do this, here are all the best practices and everything to get people to go down the funnel. I reject that. People are not, we don't go down funnels. We're humans. We're not lemmings, right? So the best way, the most long lasting, I think the most valuable relationships start in a one-on-one environment or in like a webinar where we're actually like interacting like this and building people who are very passionate about the same thing you're passionate about, and then moving forward together. So I'm always going to say, I don't care about buying lists or anything like that. I really care about quality connections that you've had and keeping track of them and keeping up with them and giving people valuable stuff, those people, and serving those people. And I think only good can come of it.
Got it. Hey, Tim, even with City City, do you guys do a lot of Zoom calls or a lot of meetings with Tim or other leaders jumping on to do Q&A and all that?
Yeah. So City to City has really prioritized in-person trainings up until COVID, right? Up until March, April. And so we've had to innovate. All of our training has been online as far as like syllabus and like videos and access to the information, but we always prioritize the in-person, in-room experience. Yeah. So we're having to change that. And one way that we are doing that is smaller groups. I really get way more traction when I'm meeting with 4 people rather than when I'm meeting with 25 people. So how can you have more almost mentor-like relationships, conversations, trainings, rather than trying to serve as many people as possible in like a live stream event?
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. And then is print mail dead, or do you guys even still use it anymore?
It depends. Here's the thing. I just get junk mail when I go to my mailbox. That's all I get. So if you can send me something that's not junk mail, but it's from you, there are these services like Mailjoy that allows you to easily send postcards or something. If you could put something in my mailbox that stood out from all the other junk mail that I get, I'd be like, that's really cool. That's really nice. It's expensive. It's really hard to razzle dazzle. I think nothing beats a handwritten card, like especially now. People are like, what is this? This is like, again, writing a card and sending it is very difficult. There are some apps actually that will let you, you can actually like make a card from your app and it's handwritten and everything, but it's sent from that. Yeah. It's called Punch something. I just sent it to my mom. It had glitter in it. I printed out photos. But if you used, let me hear a Punk Post. It's called Punk Post. It looks like, I don't know if you can see it. It looks like that. Punk Post. And it has a person hand draw a card for you. It's $10. That's what I think I paid. It had glitter in it. It had photos, and it sends to somebody. So you can send it right from your phone, a handwritten card. That's going to pop in the mailbox. So
wow, interesting.
I would do that.
Okay. Hey, now for those who are a startup, small, medium-sized organization who understands communication is important. I just don't have the budget. I'm the executive director. I'm also the project manager. I'm also the fundraiser.
Yeah.
Would you then say, hey, you should bring on a volunteer to help with communications or social media? Or you can't depend on volunteers. You're just going to have to hire someone on an hourly basis to do all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a couple ways to go about it. Volunteer management is difficult.
Yes.
You would need, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, obviously. But if they're really passionate and they're really, and they're really keyed in, you might get a couple good months out of them, or like, you know, there's ways to use volunteers that would do very well, but I don't see that as like a long-term solution for an organization as far as their marketing and communication goes. You cannot, I think the person-to-person interaction, there's a guy who works at City of Cities, his name's Jay Kyle. Yeah. I have never seen a man more connected than Jay. He talks to everybody on the plane. He like remembers people's siblings' names and wife and kids and husband and aunts and uncles, and then finds connections. You can do that. We can do that. We can remember people's names. We can have a meeting with somebody and look them up on Facebook or LinkedIn and just remember things about them. We can do that. I think that kind of personal touch is way more powerful than tweets and Facebooks. Like the actual non-robotic human, hey, how are you doing? Kind of thing. That's going to do way better as far as communication goes for an organization to your audiences. So it's a lot of work. If you could prioritize it or find a way to actually like, dedicate some time to that, I think that's really good. And then I think you can choose one thing. Again, if you're going for vision, your key audience and your message that you want to give to your key audience, and pick one platform and make that your thing. Email still works, right? So just really invest in writing an awesome email and do your work. There's a website called realgoodemails.com. You can see what those emails are, what are the awesomest emails that are happening right now. Just do that then. I would go personal touch. I put a lot of effort into personal touch. And then just do one thing that's really key for your audience and make sure that messaging is tight.
Hey, speaking of that, Tim, as you mentioned a lot of times with emails as well too, during this COVID time, you're getting a lot of emails, fundraising emails. What should an organization be sending out, especially during this time? And how frequently should we send it out? Once a month, twice a month? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, as many times as you have face melting content. So if you've got really good, like the emails need to stand out. They really need to give something to the person. Like, so you don't want to announce that you have a new website, because no one cares. There's so many websites out there. No one cares about a new website. But if there's a thing on that website that I really care about that's going to make me a better person, I want to know about that. And that should be the very first thing that's on your email. That should be screaming from your email. Not that we want to be all self-helpy, but that's the whole point, is giving value. Like, hey, you should care about this. Here's why. So as many times as you can do that and not get tired. There's also something to be said about having a rhythm and just being consistent. So if whatever is sustainable, if you can do a month, if email is the platform that you should be on, because it might not be. LinkedIn might be the platform that you need to be on. And then I would prioritize that LinkedIn thing. And then the other stuff as you are able to do a quarterly email or something. But if email is your platform, then I would be like, okay, can you do it monthly? Yes, sustainably we can. Can you do it weekly? That'd be really tough. Okay, well, maybe you can work up to getting weekly. But I think it's like as many times as you can have really good quality content. I get an email called Hearing Voices. It's about Alexa skills and stuff. The guy sends it out weekly, and it's always awesome. I always read it because I know he's going to blow my mind in some way, shape, or form.
Can the email be too long? Like, for instance, I get an email from an organization. There's like 15 articles in there when I look at it. And it's a small font. How much is a good email with content?
Yeah. So if all those articles are like, one, you could put all the stuff in an email, right? So like you could actually, so my original strategy with email is what's the one thing you should care about? And that's the email, just one thing. Now I've seen people do newsletters where they have here are all the awesome stuff and they do it in a very clean, in a very scrollable way. And that's awesome. Don't, just make it really easy to click. Think about a phone user, right? You want to think about somebody on an iPhone because that's a lot of us are on our phones all the time. And then, or if you want to do like a really long article or something, that's great. It's just got to be really good. So like if I got a short story from Ernest Hemingway and I'm obsessed with Ernest Hemingway, I will read the whole short story in the email just so I don't have to click out of anything. Like that could work. It just needs to be done in the right way. But yeah, if you're throwing everything into your email and you're like, oh, it's got to have links to this and we're doing a fundraiser and we've got articles and stuff. No, that's not going to work. It's just you're not going to get any sort of good conversion off of that if it's just a hodgepodge.
If an executive director is just not very good at social media, writing, all that stuff, should they keep trying it, or is it better for them just to give it up and assign it to someone?
Yeah, you always delegate, stick to your strengths, right? But I do think there's always room to grow. That's also important. But yes, delegate as much as you can, stick to your strengths, and if you can pay somebody, do it.
Yeah. How do you decide what platform? You mentioned a couple of times, which platform do you choose? So if I was an organization just started out, hey, I wanted to communicate to people. Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it Instagram? Is it IGTV? What should I spend my time on if I can't?
So this is okay, I'm gonna answer your question, but I just remembered Squarespace and MailChimp are like the two killer apps for me, even still. Although we've moved away, we've grown out of MailChimp, but MailChimp and Squarespace have been the Squarespace is for websites. I swear by it. I love it so much. And MailChimp is so great for emails. Those are like, a lot of people can do it. Like it's very easy for me to delegate web edits to anybody in the office because it's just so simple to use. Okay. So Tommy, you just said, how do you pick the Pinterest or what platform you should be? Talk to the people that the most matter that you really want to reach and see where they're at. Look at their phones, like while you're meeting with them, like just try to sneak a peek, like see what they're actually using. Again, it's going to be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, email. That's really it. I can't think of other. I'm like, those are the places. So you've got a short list. There's 5 things: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I don't remember the other thing I said. Oh, email. They're going to be one of those things. And so I would prioritize where are they spending, where are you getting the most? So you can also just test it, right? So start, testing on those platforms and see what's actually getting traction, and then add more to it and invest where you're actually getting traction. And then when you're not, ask the questions, why am I not getting traction? It could be because you're not posting good content, but it's also could be because your audience isn't there, because the people that really, they're not using the platform.
Hey, now, Tim, I've been hearing a lot about Twitch and TikTok. Is that even relevant in the ministry setting?
It could be. Twitch is awesome. It's gaming, streaming, but there's a feature within it. Like when you're watching a Twitch video, you can click a button and you can clip out videos. Like whenever you see a really cool thing, any user can just hit clip and make a clip. I love it. I'm like, why can't I have this in like sermons where I'm like, oh, sweet. That was a cool. I would love sermons to be on Twitch so I can like highlight things like zingers, real zingers. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But the problem is like it's a platform for gamers. And so some other niche, like I do modular synthesizer music. People in music really like it now. So there are things, but like the regular churchgoer is not going to be on Twitch. So it's great. It's just if your audience is a gamer, a musician, chess player, there are certain things you can go on the platform and see who the big users are. You can just tell by the content. Same thing with TikTok. Really, I'm not on TikTok right now, but I think it's just because the audiences that I interact with aren't on TikTok. But all I know about it is it's like music and dancing. So if your audience is really good about dancing and really wants to dance to music, then you should be on TikTok. But I hear that basically everyone under the age of 15 is on it or something. So if that's who you really need to accomplish that vision and message, then you should be on TikTok.
And when you stream videos, is it better to put it on Zoom to Facebook Live? Is it Facebook Live? Is it YouTube Live? Or do you just try to do all of them as much as you can?
Keep it simple. So based on your ability or who you have volunteer-wise or who you can pay, do what you can. So with Zoom, if you have a Zoom Pro account, you click and you can go to YouTube or Facebook, and that's it. And if that's all you want to do, that's fine. Just do that. But you could do more with a Zoom webinar account and custom streaming software. And you could do that. So if you're able to do that, then do that. I mean, really, Instagram Live for a lot of audiences is all you need. It's all you need is just go on IG Live. It's blowing up. All the live services are blowing up to where like the restreaming thing, it's cool, but like it, you know, I don't know. I think if you do Facebook Live and Instagram Live, just those two things, you're going to really hit a general. It depends on your audience though, but I think you're hitting all the switches if you do Facebook and Instagram. Albert Tate, he's a great pastor, Fellowship Monrovia. He does Facebook and Instagram. He also does YouTube. I don't know if he does YouTube Live, but I watch him on Insta.
Which, by the way, let me ask you, Tim, I mean, for a simple guy like me, I get frustrated because I have to go on Facebook Live, to Instagram. Is there a platform that allows you to take one video and put it on everything?
Yeah, so StreamYard, I think, does that.
Nope, not Instagram.
So you can with Instagram. You have to stream to a custom service. So I think StreamYard lets you go to custom whatever, RMTPs or RTMPs or something. So Restream does this. So with Restream, you can go to a custom RTMP, and there's a free software called Yellow Duck. And what you have to do is you have to log into Instagram on Yellow Duck, and it gives you a code, and you paste that code into Restream, and it streams it to Instagram.
Interesting.
So here's the problem, though. When you stream, you're generally wide, right? So Instagram is this way. So what we do, I do for our church, we stream on Instagram. I stream a special copy of our video for church turned this way. So it's like actually like I have to rotate it left so that it's vertical so that it looks okay in the Instagram feed. So Yellow Duck's free software lets you stream to Instagram using StreamYard or Restream services.
So Yellow Duck.
Yellow Duck. Yes.
Are there other platforms that you like back in the days? I used to, and this is old, Hootsuite allowed me to control everything.
Yeah.
Is there one platform that allows you to control all of the platforms?
No, not really. So there will be. There will be in a year because we've seen the value of streaming. So I'm sure Buffer will have something or one of these platforms or Facebook. You can do Facebook and Instagram basically at the same time now. So that's the other thing is maybe you won't need to because everybody's on Facebook and Instagram and no one else on the other services or everybody's on WhatsApp. But I think there will be. Right now, you have to duct tape it together. And that's the life I lead. I duct tape things until they break. And then I have to have a plan B to fix it after I've duct taped it. Yeah. In the future, maybe if this still is important, then we would have a service that would help us out. But right now, yeah, you gotta duct tape stuff together.
Hey, Tim, how many people do you have on your team? And when you first started, did you have to build a team and argue for a marketing budget for all this?
Yeah. Yeah, marketing communications is hard, especially in the nonprofit. One, because in the nonprofit space, in the Christian nonprofit space, because it's kind of like a dirty word when you're marketing. I encounter that. And I have to tell people, listen, we're bringing products to market. That's what we're doing. That's what marketing is. Like we're bringing things to market. So yeah, you have to, and here's the deal. You're always marketing. You're always communicating things. So it's like, you can choose to not accept it and ignore it, but you're still doing it. You communicate. I communicated something by wearing this shirt today. I'm a fun guy. I wanted to have the stripes. I could have worn a suit and I could have communicated something else. So do you staff to have people on your team to are making sure that they're looking at internally, how are you communicating, externally to your B2B, how are you communicating your B2C, business to consumer, thinking about that stuff and how to best do that. That's why the whole industry exists. That's why it's important to have it. So I started out just doing everything digitally myself, and there's somebody else who was doing print stuff. And then I eventually took over the print and did all of the stuff because they moved out and they started fundraising and doing other stuff. And the more that you can put everything under its own umbrella, the better. Like marketing and communications ideally would be its own vertical in a nonprofit. It would be separate from advancement. It would be separate from, in my opinion, because you have to focus, especially for global nonprofits, you have to protect the brand globally. And you have to be independent enough to be able to objectively look at all the different audiences and how you're communicating both internally and externally.
Got it. Got it.
The way that I did it was I just showed value, and I would just show, hey, we spent this money and this is what it did. We did a Kickstarter campaign for church plants, and we raised $180,000 over 18 months, $10,000 per church to like help. We just raised money to start a church, and it was like, you know, dig a well, start a church. This worked, and this is how much we spent, and this is how much we raised. We need to do more of stuff like this. Great. And so you build out as you can show the value to the organization.
And, you know, I've worked with you guys for a little bit before. There is your team of director of marketing communications, but there's another group, Brandon O'Brien.
Yeah.
What does he do, and how do you guys work together?
Yeah, so Brandon does content, and Brandon works on all the cool stuff that's happening with church plants that bubbles up as far as like ministry and ways to do evangelism in cities. And he's like, let's print that. Let us make books. Let us make resources that can then help other pastors in the future and in like kind of cross-pollinate and get that going. So Brandon is doing that. That's the content piece. And it's really like I call it a B2B. So it's like our nonprofit with pastors. It's like this kind of that organization thing. Now consumers love it. I read these books. I love this stuff, right? But that's not his primary audience. His primary audience is resourcing a movement with content. What we do at Marketing and Communications is we get people excited about it and want to join it. Whether that's praying, whether that's giving, whether that's buying, whether that's going to plant a church. We look at different, and we're also making sure that the globe is talking to each other and then also like cool with it and like understands why we're doing what we're doing. So we're kind of doing that dance while Brandon's actually working on these resources, these books and podcasts and stuff. But we do work together a lot because it's an audience. Like, hey, how are we going to approach this audience? How are we going to approach this when we're creating these resources? Tommy, you asked about teams. So it was one person, and then I went with contractors, and then I justified part-time positions, and then I justified full-time positions, and that's how I started building team members, both in me and my department and in departments around the world. It's like, hey, start with a contractor. This person's really great. They're really dependable. You should hire them part-time. You should get so just from contractor to part-time to full-time. That's how I built the team.
Very, very good. And it probably took you a couple years because you have to justify some of the guys, whether it's the finance guys or the operations guys, they just don't understand it. They're sitting there, why don't you just do it for free? So you have to show what they're able to do.
Right. Yeah. And you do that when you hire a graphic designer to do, and you're like, here's the annual report because we paid a little bit more money. It's like, whoa, okay. And as your organization grows, right, you need more donations if you're a nonprofit that's supported by donors. And there's that balance of like, hey, they're really putting good work into this piece to show me that like this is a good return on my investment. I gave you this money to go do the work, and you're giving me this piece to show the work that's been done. This is great. So you can show and build that way.
Got it. Hey, last question for you, Tim, is specifically, and I think we touched a little bit on this, is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. For you guys, is it always Tim's sermon, Wednesday, Tim's sermon, Thursday, Tim's sermon? Or how do you guys break it down where you're communicating something of value every single day?
Yeah, so we actually rarely quote. So as Redeemer City to City, we rarely quote Tim Keller. Unless there's like a new book or he did a talk or something like that, which granted, he does a lot of talks So, but yes, again, there is, we want to talk about cities. We want to talk about the gospel renewing people's souls and bodies. And we want to talk about togetherness. We want to show like cross-denominational work, which is what you're trying to see it together in LA. You're trying to see this in Chicago is churches working together to do good in cities, to see them both like the quality of life improve, but people's spiritual lives also improve with the gospel. Like actually like, oh, this is both happen, especially with new churches. So that's what we're trying to show. Tim's going to say a lot about that, but other people are going to say a lot about that too. And the thing is, we moved from showing cities and like all the free stock photos to moving to like, no, we got to show people. People is what we're all about. So that was a big shift for us, is like with stock photos, I don't know who this person is. We need to invest in a photographer that can take actual photos so that we can show the people. These are the real people in the stories that we're all about. So we invested in that to be able to show, and that was a lot of bang for a buck. We actually paid for photos, which I thought I was going to shoot them or we use stock photos, but it really mattered. So that was a huge shift that we made.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. That's pretty good. And then in terms of when you break it down every single day, man, I lost that thought. Never mind. Sorry about that, Tim. I had a thought and it just completely.
Yeah, you can schedule it. So Buffer, you can actually you can schedule day by day and see at a glance what you're talking about, and just making sure you're actually, varying it, and you're hitting all the switches that you want to do over a certain week. I just imagined what your question was, Tommy, and then I answered it.
Actually, you know what? Here's one more question.
Okay.
Is there a correct way for social media? Do you just bombard people like 3-4 times a day? Or would you say, hey, look, you know what? Once or twice a day is enough. Do not bug people with your stories 4 or 5 times a post.
Yeah. So you can create so much work for yourself by creating these quotas that you have to do for email or social. If you've got awesome stuff, then post it. That's my thing, is if you've got the good content, then post it and then figure out what your rhythm should be. Hey, we're generally getting this awesome stuff. So when we were doing these podcasts, that became our content pillar post-COVID, was let's do a bunch of Zoom meetings, let's record them and turn them into podcasts. That became the most work. And then we chopped them up and we put them into a blog post and we found the quotes and stuff. And it's okay, now we could probably get about 3 quotes of this and let's post it on Instagram or something, or we're selling a book. So it's just thinking about what's the good stuff that we need to communicate and then communicating it then, and not being worried about filling a quota, especially because, so anyway, I understand. So to answer your question, I do think you need to be daily active on social. That would be my ideal. But I've had people who told me that's ridiculous. No one's going to see it, blah, blah, blah. So if you can't do quality daily stuff, then don't do daily. Do every other day. I would say monthly for email. I would say daily for social. That's just my general, how I feel good about myself if I post that.
I love talking with you. For somebody who does not understand a lot of times communication, but was forced to do some of those things. But not my passion. It is definitely not my area of strength. I'm more of your operation implementation guy. Learning from you helps me a lot, because I would say, Tim, as I even hear you, I actually get overwhelmed by all this. And so I've had to find a staff. Like you said, I actually eventually start from volunteers to hiring different part-time people and contractors. Now we have a direct, and this is Resource Global, director of communications, then the social media, then writers, then graphic designers. But it took me a period of 4 or 5 years to develop that team.
Yeah. It takes time. All of this. And what's crazy is that it all changes, right? We just like the news cycle, just so many things happen. So it's being persistent. It's pivoting when you need to pivot. It's knowing that work is hard, and it's just being in it for the long haul, which you have. Tommy, I love talking to you. This is so great. Even our public talks, it's fine. It's just we're in the same room. I love it.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
Hey, we're going to have to do more of these things. This is Tim Cox, Director of Marketing Communications for City to City, an organization I love, and I've gotten a chance to work with them. They just do wonderful, wonderful things, and they just have a very, very reputable reputation. Thank you so much, Tim.
It's a pleasure. Take care.
Hey, quick question, Tim. If they want to find City to City, where can they find you at?
Yeah, redeemercitytocity.com. It's the longest URL, or just Google City to City and you'll come up with it. We've got tons of resources there for you. The resources tab is where it's at, so go ahead and check that out. We're publishing books and everything. So, and also Redeemer CTC on social, all the socials. We're there.
Thank you. Talk soon, Tim.
Cheers. All right, Tommy. Bye.